Did one man spark a rebellion that defied slavery for 100 years? Meet Zumbi, the fearless leader of Brazil's quilombos, hidden strongholds of freedom. Why was their epic fight buried in history? Uncover the untold story of courage and resistance that changed Brazil forever. Welcome to Brazil Uncovered. Subscribe and hit the bell to dive into the real Brazil. Slavery. Brazil was the epicenter of the African slave trade in the Americas. From the 16th to the 19th centuries, over 4 million people were torn from their homes in places like Angola, Congo, Mozambique, and Benin, forced into the brutal Atlantic crossing known as the Middle Passage. Packed into ships under horrific conditions, many didn't survive. Those who did faced a life of relentless labor on sugar plantations, coffee fields, and gold mines, enduring violence and dehumanization. But this isn't just a story of suffering. It's one of courage, defiance, and hope. Today, we'll explore the quilombos, vibrant communities of resistance that challenged the colonial system and shaped Brazil's soul. These stories of freedom fighters are why Brazil Uncovered exists. If you love uncovering hidden histories, subscribe and join our journey. The rise of quilombos. Picture yourself in colonial Brazil, toiling under the scorching sun on a plantation. Freedom feels like a distant dream. Yet for thousands, that dream fueled action. Enslaved Africans escaped from fazendas, senzalas, and mines, braving dense jungles, treacherous rivers, and the constant threat of capitães do mato, slave hunters hired by plantation owners. These fugitives formed quilombos, free communities hidden in remote forests and mountains, where colonial forces struggled to reach. Quilombos sprang up across Brazil, from Maranhão to Rio Grande do Sul. They weren't just hideouts, they were organized societies with farms, trade, defense systems, and their own laws. Blending African traditions like drumming, spiritual practices, and warfare tactics with indigenous knowledge and sometimes European influences, quilombos created a unique culture. Some were small, with a few dozen people. Others, like Palmares, grew into powerful nations. These communities weren't just refuges. They were bold acts of rebellion, proving that freedom was possible even under oppression. Are you inspired by these incredible stories of resistance? Then join the Brazil Uncovered community. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video with friends who need to know the real Brazil. Let's keep these histories alive together. The African roots of quilombo resistance. To understand the quilombo's strength, we must look to Africa. The enslaved brought with them rich cultures and skills that fueled their resistance. Many came from warrior societies, like the Mbangala of Angola, skilled in guerrilla tactics, or the Yoruba of Benin, whose spiritual traditions birthed candomblé. In Africa, they built complex kingdoms like the Congo Empire, with advanced agriculture and trade. These weren't primitive people, as colonial myths claimed. They were architects of civilizations. In quilombos, they adapted these skills. For example, African ironworking techniques produced tools and weapons, while farming methods from the Congo sustained communities. Spiritual leaders, often women, preserved rituals that gave hope and unity. These African roots made quilombos more than survival camps. They were cultural strongholds, defying the erasure of their heritage. This resilience challenges the Eurocentric view of history, showing how African knowledge shaped Brazil's past and present. The Quilombo dos Palmares and Zumbi. In the late 16th century, in the Serra da Barriga, now Alagoas, the Quilombo dos Palmares emerged as the greatest symbol of resistance. Palmares wasn't just a village, it was a confederation of settlements, a nation of up to 20,000 people in the 17th century, including escaped Africans, indigenous allies, and even marginalized Europeans. With its own economy, growing manioc, corn, and beans, raising livestock and trading with nearby towns, Palmares thrived. Its blacksmiths crafted tools and weapons, and its warriors mastered the terrain. At the heart of this story is Zumbi, Brazil's iconic freedom fighter. Born in Palmares around 1655, Zumbi was captured as a child by the Portuguese, but escaped back to the Quilombo as a teenager. A charismatic leader and brilliant strategist, he led Palmares against Portuguese and Dutch attacks for decades. Using guerrilla tactics in the rugged hills, Palmares repelled countless assaults, becoming such a threat that the colonial government obsessed over its destruction. In 1895, after years of siege, Palmares fell. Zumbi was betrayed, captured, and executed. His head displayed publicly to crush hope. Yet, his legacy endures. November 20th, his death date, is Brazil's Black Consciousness Day, honoring his fight for freedom. Women warriors of the quilombos. While Zumbi is legendary, women were equally vital to quilombos' survival. Figures like Dandara, Zumbi's wife, were not just supporters, but warriors and leaders. Dandara fought alongside men, wielding weapons and strategizing defenses, while also organizing food supplies and community life. Other women, like Aqualtune, a Congolese princess enslaved in Brazil, reportedly led early resistance in Palmares, bringing her royal military experience. Women in quilombos defied colonial gender norms, taking on roles as healers, farmers, and spiritual guides. Their leadership ensured cultural continuity, preserving African dances, songs, and rituals. These women weren't just resisting slavery, they were redefining freedom, showing that courage knows no gender. Their stories, often overshadowed, remind us that quilombos were spaces of radical equality, inspiring modern feminist movements in Brazil. Afro-Brazilian culture and quilombo legacy. Quilombos weren't just about survival, they were about preserving identity. African traditions thrived despite colonial oppression. Capoeira, a martial art disguised as dance, allowed enslaved people to train for self-defense. Candomblé, with its orixás and rituals, kept African spirituality alive, linking communities to their roots. These practices shaped Afro-Brazilian culture, from samba's rhythms to acarajé's flavors, maracatu festivals, and umbanda ceremonies. Quilombos fostered solidarity, uniting diverse African ethnicities and indigenous allies. This cultural fusion is Brazil's heartbeat, visible in carnival, street food, and music. By safeguarding these traditions, quilombos laid the foundation for Brazil's vibrant multicultural identity, proving that resistance creates beauty. Quilombos today and modern struggles. Quilombos aren't just history. Over 3,600 quilombola communities exist in Brazil today, many descended from historic quilombos. From Sapé do Norte in Espírito Santo, where jongo dances thrive, to Campinho da Independência in Rio, with its community museum. These groups fight for land rights, cultural preservation, and access to education and healthcare. They face modern challenges, land invasions, discrimination, and resource scarcity. But their resilience echoes their ancestors' spirit. What's your take on Zumbi and these modern quilombolas? Drop a comment below with what surprised you most. Share this video and subscribe to Brazil Uncovered to keep these stories alive. Slavery's lasting impact. Slavery's scars run deep. Until 1888's Lei Áurea, Brazil endured 350 years of a system that dehumanized millions. Post-abolition, the lack of support for freed people, land, education, left a legacy of inequality. Today, Black Brazilians face higher unemployment, less access to higher education, and greater violence, with IBGE data showing these disparities. Quilombos teach us resilience and the ongoing fight for justice, from streets to schools. This story of courage challenges us to honor the past and build a fairer future. How can we carry the Quilombo legacy forward? Comment below, share this video, and subscribe to Brazil Uncovered for more untold Brazilian stories. Thanks for watching. See you next time.